This evening, first, borderline tension, Venezuelan elections in Essequibo. Guyana's Chief of Defense Staff issues a stern warning. Any Venezuelans in Guyana who participate in Venezuela's upcoming Essequibo elections will be arrested and deported. We have the full story. Plus, currency controversy. Vice President Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo points to Trinidadian businessmen buying up US dollars from local businesses, driving up demand and straining the market. What's the government doing about it? Also, false claims of GPHC. The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation calls in the police, accusing a woman of making false claims of losing twin babies under shocking circumstances. What really happened? Meanwhile, raising from ashes, a new home for a grieving family. After a tragic fire destroyed their home and claimed the lives of 5, a father and son are about to begin anew, thanks to President Ali's Millennium Mission initiative. We'll show you how hope is being restored. And peace talks at last. Ukraine and Russia meets again. Could this be the breakthrough the world has been waiting for? Ukrainian and Russian officials are sitting down for peace talks in Istanbul for the first time since 2022. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for May 16, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, Chief of Defense Staff Brigadier Omar Khan announced on Thursday that any Venezuelan residing in Guyana who participate in Venezuela's planned elections to claim the Essequibo region will be arrested and deported.
Venezuelans are working on this side of the shore. Any one of them who participate in the voting will not be allowed to come back across here.
Brigadier Khan warned that the same consequences apply to Guyanese citizens who take part in the elections, calling such involvement a serious offense and likening it to a passive coup.
Anybody, and I want you to share this around, anybody, Guyanese in particular, who vote in that election will be arrested, charged, and jailed because it's a serious offense. Good? It's a serious offense. And we're watching everyone who are going to be and where they're going to be in that day. Also, I want you, if you see anything that is going wrong, you report it to us or the police or one of your village elders. Guyanese must not participate in something that is unjust, irrelevant, and illegal. Very important.
During a press briefing at Base Camp in Ghana on Thursday, Khan confirmed that troops of the Ghana Defense Force came under attack in 3 separate incidents while conducting riverine patrols along the Cuyuni River near Eterimbang and Macapa. The brigadier urged the public to report anyone suspected of participating in the unlawful vote, which Venezuela has scheduled for May 25, 2025, in defiance of international law. The move follows a recent International Court of Justice order reaffirming that Venezuela must not proceed with actions aimed at annexing the disputed Essequibo territory, which Ghana says is rightfully its own. Earlier this year, Minister of Home Affairs Robinson Ben warned that anyone installed as governor of Essequibo would be charged with treason. The developments come amid heightened tension along the Ghana-Venezuela border as Venezuela seems to disregard ICJ's ruling and is proceeding with the scheduled May 25th elections. On a different note, Vice President Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo has suggested that recent issues in Guyana's foreign currency market may be linked to Trinidadian businessmen buying US dollars from local cambios and businesses. Speaking at one of his weekly press conferences on Thursday, Dr. Jagdeo noted that some cambios and businesses are purchasing foreign currency at $216 and reselling it to Trinidadians for $220.
Over the last few years, we have witnessed a phenomenon here where we believe that some of the invoices submitted by companies are inflated because they're local companies, but inflated invoices so that when the payment goes to their suppliers, it's for goods that would go into Trinidad and Tobago. Secondly, some of the cambios and banks, to a lesser extent the banks, are now selling the currency to Trinidadians who come here, foreign currency, to them, because they come here to get the foreign currency. And then thirdly, you have some local companies now that are capitalizing on the arbitrage. So they buy from the banks and the cambios at maybe 216 or so, and they're selling to the Trinidadians at 220, 224. They're making money now on the side. So we have a big additional demand now, apart from the growth generally of the economy and the increase in consumer goods, intermediate goods, capital goods import to $9 billion now. We also have this new demand.
He explained that due to long wait times, sometimes over 6 months, to access foreign currency in Trinidad, businesses there are turning to Ghana's market.
This is happening through several places, and we're looking at this now. You know, in Trinidad, it's practically impossible to get foreign currency in that market. People don't write about that. But in the Trinidad, businessmen have to wait for ages, 6 months, 8 months, etc. They cannot get foreign currency in that market.
This external demand and a surge in Ghana's domestic demands for foreign currency are straining the supply. Imports have risen from $2.2 billion in 2020 to $9 billion in 2025. Jagdeo assured that the Bank of Guyana can intervene when necessary. The central bank recently injected $35 million in March and $100 million in April to stabilize the market. Dr. Jagdeo added that the government monitors the situation and plans to investigate further concerning activities.
We have enough resources to intervene in the market. I've dealt with this in the past, to ensure that the domestic demand, even in the enhanced domestic demand, which is for legitimate purposes, will be satisfied.
President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali announced an earlier probe into foreign currency exploitations in local banks in December of 2024. Moving on, a false report of maltreatment at any hospital can seriously damage the hospital's reputation, cause public fear, demoralize staff, and lead to legal and PR battles. This may be the case as the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation has requested the Ghana Police Force to investigate what it describes as a false and damaging allegations of medical malpractice made by a woman claiming to have lost twins at that facility. The woman, identified as Maripa Makinlal, shared her story with a news outlet, claiming she was 45 weeks pregnant with twins when she was admitted to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation on May 7th. She claimed that at birth, she was told both infants were stillborn. The emotional woman said the twins were shown to her in a plastic bag the next day before she was discharged from the hospital with only some Panadol. She also alleged the hospital turned her away and denied her and her husband's request for the right to bury their babies. However, in a press statement issued on Thursday by the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, it noted an internal probe has found no evidence to support Makinlal's claim. The hospital noted there is no record of Makinlal in any of its systems or logs. No hospital documents were provided, and ultrasound images shared by her were found to be copied from the internet and used technology not available at the Georgetown Public Hospital. CCTV footage also showed no sign of Makinlal visiting the facility during the dates in question. A medical examination of the woman on May 15th found no signs of recent pregnancy, childbirth, or surgery. The press release stated that, given the seriousness of the allegations and the potential harm to public trust, the hospital has filed an official police complaint. GPHC noted that it reaffirms its commitment to high medical standards and urged the public and media to be responsible and verify information through official channels. Stick around when we return. Government to crack down on overloaded trucks with new waiting equipment, and from heartbreak to hope, men on a mission to rebuild home for fire tragedy survivors.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. How to apply for registration? You must visit the GCOM registration office that is responsible for your area of residence to apply for registration or name change or correction. You must be in possession of the following source documents as might be relevant: original birth certificate or valid Guyana passport for new registration, original marriage certificate and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by marriage, original deed poll and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by deed poll, original naturalization certificate and original birth certificate or valid passport in the case of naturalization. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Our smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. In a bid to curb road damage caused by overweight trucks, the government is moving to tighten enforcement by procuring 20 motion weight scales and 400 clamps. The initiative, announced by Minister of Public Works Bishop Edgehill on Wednesday, is currently out for tender. Speaking during a consultation on the east bank of the Marara Road project, Minister Edgehill explained that the new equipment will be used to weigh trucks at various checkpoints and prevent them from continuing their journey if found overloaded. Highlighting that overloaded trucks are responsible for widespread damage to roads, bridges, and culverts, Edgehill noted that truck drivers will not just pay a fine and go. Another truck will have to come and take the excess load. He said the ministry just can't keep looking the other side when trucks are carrying 65 tons when they should be carrying 35 or 40. A regulatory framework is already being advanced, led by a cabinet subcommittee chaired by the Prime Minister. The Public Works Minister assured that the supporting legislation will follow once the equipment is in place to ensure effective enforcement. He noted the irony that truckers, often the first to complain about damaged infrastructure, are among the main contributors to that problem. The move comes amid growing concerns at the national level, with the Vice President recently meeting contractors about structural damage along the East Coast corridor. While current measures include truck restrictions and speed limits in certain villages, Minister Edgehill emphasized that real progress depends on accountability and the right tools to enforce it. In other news, in the blink of an eye, a father lost almost his entire family. A son lost his mother and siblings, and a home was reduced to ashes. Yet, amid the unbearable grief and charred memories, a new chapter of hope is beginning for Rohan Ramjatan and his teenage son Kevin. After the tragic event, the duo has been clinging to nothing but each other and a glimmer of hope. Now, thanks to President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali's Melanam Mission initiative, the grieving father and son will soon have a new home to rebuild their lives. The fire, which tore through their number 64 village quarantine home in November last year, killed Ramjatan's 34-year-old wife, Hemwati Singh, and their 4 children, including a special needs child. His 17-year-old son Kevin was the sole survivor, escaping as flames engulfed the wooden two-story house. Rohan was not at home at the time. The blaze later ruled as arson, devastated the small community, and left the grieving father and son homeless. They have since been living with friends, clinging to hope amid their immense loss. Now, that hope is becoming reality. The Men on a Mission initiative has pledged to rebuild their home. This news has renewed hope and a sense of relief for the father and son. Rohan has expressed thanks to the Men on a Mission team and Regional Vice Chairman Zamal Hussain for their support. While no new home can replace what was lost, it will be a new beginning for Rohan and Kevin Ramjitan, a father and son that has lost so much. Don't go away after the break. U.S. Supreme Court hears arguments in birthright citizenship case, and anger grows in Peru as President Bharrat faces backlash over crime and weak governance.
See clearly with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Where to apply for registration? You are required to visit the GCOM registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons in your area of residence to apply for registration. Office hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 12 and 13 to 16 hours 30. Friday, 8 to 12 hours and 13 to 15 hours 30. The offices will be closed on weekends and holidays. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-0277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago cannot enforce the death penalty for any of the 38 inmates currently on death row, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar announced. Of these, 18 are eligible for execution, but pending appeals prevent any hangings. The Prime Minister has directed the Attorney General to establish case management for timely appeals, aiming to resume hangings, a promise made during her 2025 election campaign. The last execution occurred in 1999. Meanwhile, in South America, Peruvians are protesting against President Dina Boluarte over rising crime and government inactions. Thousands have marched nationwide amid daily threats of extortion, murder, and gang-related violence. The killing of 13 miners in a dispute over illegal gold mining triggered fresh outrage and unrest. Al Jazeera's Mariana Sanchez reports.
After nearly 900 days in office, protesters say they are fed up with Peruvian President Dina Boluarte's inability to fight crime. Since Boluarte took power, more than 4,000 people have been murdered. Carlos Choque, representing thousands of textile workers, says people have had enough.
How can we not feel indignation if there are deaths every day? How far will we go? The country doesn't deserve this. I say to the president, you are killing us.
Thousands of Peruvians marched through the streets of the capital and in southern provinces. One recent poll has Boluarte's approval rating at 0%, a sign of near-unanimous feeling around the country. Peruvians face deadly and daily threats of extortion and gang violence. Last week, 13 minors were murdered in cold blood, part of a violent feud between gangs seeking control of the illegal gold trade.
General outrage is mounting because the national government hasn't responded to this incident to this day. It's unheard of that 13 security workers from a mining company were killed at the cold-blooded hands of criminals. The police did nothing.
The massacre triggered the resignation of Prime Minister Gustavo Adrianzen late Tuesday, hours ahead of a no-confidence vote in Congress. On Wednesday, Boluarte swore in the new cabinet, among them her 8th interior minister. Protesters, angry and hopeless, say they don't think anything will change.
Critics here say the pace of rising crime is alarming, and they say it's because the government doesn't have a plan and because the laws protect criminals.
Critics say a series of regulations allowed by the government and approved by Congress make it hard for authorities to arrest, investigate, and prosecute suspects, fueling the lax policies to fight crime.
There is no plan or strategy to confront crime. Intelligence is apparently disarmed, and the results that are publicized by the government are usually denied and pointed out as false. We are in a truly unprecedented situation where we do not have leadership that allows us to focus on this national problem.
Boluarte's public statements instead focus her plan to raise her own salary and fly into Rome to attend Pope Leo XIV's enthronement, further angering protesters who say she must resign now. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Lima.
The U.S. Supreme Court is examining the legality of President Donald Trump's executive order aiming to end birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to certain immigrant parents. The court, composed predominantly of conservative justices, appeared split during the hearing. Al Jazeera's Heidi Castro reports.
Are all people born on U.S. soil U.S. citizens? The answer had been considered yes and settled law for more than a century, until Donald Trump returned to the White House in January and signed an order ending birthright citizenship for children born to parents who are undocumented or foreign visitors.
Birthright. That's a big one.
The 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, written after the Civil War, states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. On Thursday, as pro-immigrant demonstrators gathered outside the U.S. Supreme Court, the 9 justices heard arguments from Trump's Solicitor General that the Constitution has been misinterpreted all along.
Mr. Chief Justice, the original meaning of the Citizenship Clause extended citizenship to the children of former slaves, not to people who are unlawfully or temporarily present in the United States.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor, among the court's liberal minority, noted that 4 previous Supreme Court rulings have affirmed that citizenship extends to all people born in the U.S.
We have another case where we said that even if your parents are here illegally, if you're born here, you're a citizen. We have yet another case that says even if your parents came here and were stopped at the border, but you were born in our territory, you're still a citizen. And we have another case that says even if your parents secured citizenship illegally, you're still a citizen.
Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a conservative appointed by Trump, questioned how his order would be enforced.
How this is going to work. What do hospitals do with a newborn? What do states do with a newborn?
The court's conservative supermajority largely stayed clear of questioning the constitutionality of Trump's order. Instead, they focused on the narrower legal question of whether lower courts overstepped their authority when they froze the order nationwide after siding with immigrant mothers and 22 state attorneys general who sued Trump.
We need to make sure that if you're born in this country, you have the rights of being an American. You have the rights and the liberties of being an American. And no one president can undermine that with an executive order.
The court won't issue their ruling until June or July, and it is only then that we'll find out whether the justices even tackled the constitutional question of birthright citizenship and whether their answer to that question could mark a fork in the road of this country's history. altering the meaning of being American-born. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Finally, for the first time since 2022, Ukraine and Russia are engaging in peace talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has sent a delegation to Istanbul to meet with Russian officials in a bid to negotiate a path forward. Al Jazeera's Bernard Smith reports.
I'm here. Would Vladimir Zelensky be meeting with Russian negotiators to discuss an end to the Ukraine war? It took a meeting with Turkey's president to persuade Zelensky to at least show willing, even though Russian President Vladimir Putin wasn't in town.
Despite quite a low-level Russian delegation, but with respect to Donald Trump, with respect to the high-level Turkish delegation, with respect to President Erdogan, and willing to demonstrate, to try to achieve at least first steps in de-escalation and ending the war ceasefire, I decided to send our delegation to Istanbul.
The Russian delegation is headed by Vladimir Medinsky on the right here. He was here in 2022 when the two sides last met and considers these talks a continuation from then.
The delegation is in a constructive mindset, looking for possible solutions and points of contact. The task of directed negotiations with the Ukrainian side is to sooner or later establish long-term peace by eliminating the root causes of the conflict.
For Russia, that's understood to include a commitment for Ukraine's permanent neutrality, so no membership of NATO. Ukraine wants an unconditional ceasefire, followed by negotiations. It was left to the US president on his way to the UAE to make clear who really holds the key to ending the war in Ukraine.
Nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying. Thank you. You're going to land right now. Thank you.
It was Vladimir Putin who first proposed these talks, apparently to show President Trump that he's interested in peace. Zelensky upped the ante by inviting Putin to lead the talks. That Russian and Ukrainian negotiators look set to meet face to face for the first time in 3 years may count for something. But the absence of the US and Russian presidents may lower expectations of any breakthrough here. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's Safe TV2 headline news for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be off for the weekend, but you can tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other and do have a wonderful weekend.